Let's start the program today on something that has been bugging a lot of parents. It's a topic of debate in every household, especially for all mothers. Now, recently what happened in the state of Florida, United States, they banned social media for kids under 14. Now, that obviously grabbed a lot of headlines and many hailed it, calling it the need of the hour. But let's dissect a little bit today on the Breakfast Club on what effectively does this Florida ban do to kids. What it has done is that it has banned kids who are younger to 14 years old from owning a social media account. That means you can't have a social media account of your own. But as we all know, anybody who has kids knows that once kids find an addiction, they find a way to make it happen. They can log in to accounts from their parents, from their siblings, from their grandparents. There's really nothing stopping them. But we wanted to look at this story from an India lens, understand how it can be implemented, if at all, in India. If not, then holistically, what exactly is at risk when it comes to screen addiction in our kids. India at the moment doesn't have a law, but some existing guidelines at least. The guidelines are simple. If you're logging in or making an account on any of the social media platforms, it will ask you to self-attest and tick whether you are 18, above 18 or not. Now, we all know how that will go down with kids, right? So, it's going to be very easy basically to circumvent that rule. There is a very active, fiery debate amongst parent circle here in India wanting to understand how do we curb this addiction. Because understand this very clearly, the dangers of early internet exposure is not just of addiction or sleeping disorders or eating disorder or eye strain or stress, or even character issues, if you want to call it that. It can lead to even further problems in kids. It leaves our kids vulnerable to glorifying bullying, sexual predators, several scams. The issue is grave. So let's take it up with an expert now to try and understand how much screen time is too much screen time. Because remember, we live in a digital age where classrooms are digital, chatting up with your grandparents is digital. You cannot escape the phone. So what is the right way to incorporate that in your life? On that note, let me welcome Riddhi Doshi Patel on the program. Good morning, Riddhi.
Good morning, good morning.
She is a psychologist, she's a parenting counselor, she's a mental health practitioner and a founder and director of RINS Academy. So Riddhi is pretty much the best person to sort of take this with. Riddhi, like I said, we cannot escape phones, laptops, iPads, screens in today's age. It's just not possible. So what is the best way to incorporate it?
Parental controls, I feel, is the best way to incorporate because the parents can access. Okay. Now, when I'm talking about parental controls, there are a lot of apps. Since we are talking digital, we are talking technology. There are so many apps these days where parents can analyze, parents can have control of hours the children are using the screens.
You can monitor basically.
You can monitor, you can keep a control on the number of hours also you want your child to access social media. Okay. So that in a way helps, I personally believe.
That helps, but again, I'm sure with every age group, there's going to be a different mindset that one has to adopt. Let's look at the age group of below 14, since that's what Florida has done, since that's the active debate here as well. What age, according to you, let me just cover the bases here, okay? What age, according to you, I'm really keen to understand, is appropriate for kids to be introduced to screen for the first time?
I would say not about 8 years. If you ask me as a child psychologist, not below 8. About 8, that too 40 minutes, 45 minutes, that too also for your education purpose. Okay, there are so many things parents can do with children rather than giving them a screen or replacing parenting with screens. So there are multiple things like involving children in creating menus, having family time when you analyze or you help your child to understand the responsibility associated with having more screen times. Or how do different social media impact you as a human being, you as a child. Okay, and the best thing is parents can only explain to children, nobody else.
See, Riddhi, I'm a young mother as well, okay? So I have a lot to say about parenting and I feel very strongly about it. But let me just get this straight. You're saying not before 8 years of age should any child be exposed to screen.
Not
because the
before 8.
downside is very, very critical.
Absolutely.
It sort of hampers in character building altogether. And you're saying even after 8, only 45
minutes
in a day.
Absolutely, because I see parents that the children who are age 4 or 5 are given Instagram, who are just scrolling reels, you know. They affect not only their mental health, their emotional health, their developmental issues. There are a lot of things that a child gets impacted. Also, the child's mind is very small, very chota. The exposure is less. They don't understand the impact, but it does.
Yeah.
And it's a huge impact.
Yeah, we're seeing that in several ways, you know, eating disorders, like I said in my opening as well, sleeping disorders, not being able to express because
Body
you're
image
constantly-
issues.
Body
image issues.
issues.
So
Yeah,
I see the
yeah.
best on social media. I see on Instagram that everybody is in good shape. Right? Everybody is having a happy life. So I start feeling, or I start comparing that, okay,
I question my own life. Yeah.
absolutely,
Yeah, yeah.
right? That I don't have this facilities or this body shape I don't have, or I don't look that pretty. Obviously, it's going to impact a child.
Yeah,
When it's impacting adults, it's going to impact a child as well.
That's true. But let's talk about parenting. I would like to believe that no parent is trying to replace their presence with a device. Nobody wants to do that. The reality of our times is that we are just trying to get the job done. We are in nuclear families. The age-old concept of grandparents being there to look after at a time when parents themselves are at the peak of trying to, you know, make a living for themselves. They're working parents. All of that is happening. But one thing I see mothers struggle, and it's sad to say only mothers, I think fathers should also struggle a little bit, but mostly mothers struggle with is feeding the kid. And I think that's the time everybody says कि screen तो देना ही पड़ेगा, खाने के समय तो दिखाना ही पड़ेगा कोई कार्टून, वरना बच्चा खाना नहीं खाएगा. Right? It's bad, we know, but do you have a solution?
Yes, absolutely. So while a mother is feeding a child, the best thing is that आप nursery rhymes गाओ. Okay, आप अपने बच्चे के साथ the food that you're making your child eat, talk about where the grains are coming from. So this is how you're going to help your child increase the general knowledge. अच्छा, आप कौन से state से वो grains आ रहे हैं? जैसे if you're making your child eat porridge, talk about wheat. Which states the wheat, you know, in our country wheat is grown. So this is how you are connecting with your child. You're replacing screen with your own self. It's a question of just getting a little bit involved. Okay, it's not difficult. It's no rocket science, I would say.
I like what she's saying. She's saying basically don't play any cartoons to them, become
Absolutely.
that cartoon, okay? Become that one storyteller in front of your child.
Yes, there are so
and
many
ensure
things.
that you entertain your child and you don't have a screen entertaining your child. That's,
Absolutely.
That's
absolutely.
effectively what you're saying.
Not entertaining, but getting a little more involved.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
and
yeah.
when you connect with your child, imagine when I'm feeding my child and I'm talking about stories, I'm talking about the states of our country, I'm singing a nursery rhyme, I'm creating some rhymes for him. That's how he will remember for lifetime.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's a better way of doing it rather than replacing it with screens.
True, true. So I like the 8-year threshold, but from 8 to 14, what Florida has done is, and what also social media does in India, at the moment, a lot of these platforms ask you to claim and put it out that whether or not you're 18 plus, otherwise you cannot have a social media account. That hasn't stopped any child on this planet
Absolutely.
from getting away from social
Absolutely.
media. That's the most bizarre thing, any which ways. But moving in 8 to this 14 bracket, 8 is the time in the kid's life when school is active, they're talking about things, projects are coming in, a lot of those projects require you to be on the screen, require you to be in front of the laptop. Like I said, the pandemic has sort of, you know, it's really extrapolated us into this journey of digital revolution as well, and classrooms are now going to be on your laptop.
Absolutely.
How do you balance it then?
So that's all the screen needs to be used for. Okay. Apart from that, see, if your child loves reading, okay, replace Kindle with book, the hardbound books. Okay. A little tweak. if you're putting up a message in family group on WhatsApp that what you want to eat, go and meet your grandparents, go and meet the family members on Sunday, create a menu together. Okay, so this is how you're replacing, instead of WhatsApp, you're using face-to-face connection. So from real to real is a transition, but it's not difficult. Also, the time when you are at home, that is the weekends, right? You can have your children involved in gardening and cooking and the household chores, right? One thing.
So weekend should be screen blackout
Absolutely,
times.
absolutely.
No screens on
No
weekends.
screens.
So there
no
should
screens.
be rules not just about when you can use, but when you can definitely not use screen.
So when we're talking about child, it is important that the parents also obey that rule, okay? Because if we parents are constantly on mobile phone, the children are going to mirror us as parents. So evening, put your phone aside. Probably when your child sleeps and you want to just scroll or you want to check the WhatsApp, do it. But avoid in front of your children. Unless they are 14 or 15, where they know that the mother is going to work or the father is going to work, and this is a device helping them to connect with people for their work. Else it should be avoided. So weekend should be like Sunday, no phone day. Okay, this is something which I'm also trying to implement at my end
How's
with
that
my
going?
family.
How is that going?
It's going good because either morning we go out for a walk together or we sit and have breakfast or we do gardening together, but there's no phone day. At least till 1:30, no phone.
Right.
So that's how you are connecting with your family, your child. You're creating a space for your child to talk about the whole week, right? So while if you're working parents, during the week, we don't know what has happened with the child. We keep on asking, kya hua, kaisa gaya din? But the child doesn't want to talk because right now when I'm talking to you, you are saying, you're connecting with me. There are gestures. But children these days, they are not understanding those gestures because they are completely hooked onto the screen, and the screen doesn't teach them gestures. Okay, so it's very important to connect with people in real life so that there is a human connect. And human connect is important for a lot of developmental space in us, even the hormonal changes also. Right? So family time is something when you talk about how the week has been, how did you manage small situations.
Riddhi, this is a very nice discussion because I'm getting a lot of comments online, and one question is actually saying, but what do you do when their friends in school have phones and mobile phones? My child comes back to tell me that my friend has a phone, why shouldn't I get one?
Exactly.
How do you answer that question?
Yes, so that is the major issue. Parents are also in the space of comparison these days, right? And that is my concern. So when I read the news yesterday, the first question was that would parents stop comparing? Would children stop comparing? And that is exactly the space where you need to connect with your child and explain what are the responsibilities associated with screens, use of mobile phone. And you have to give your child to access WhatsApp or the school notes and all, then have parental controls, strict parental controls. Because the child's mind is not equipped to understand few things. Imagine you are on Instagram, the child is having Instagram account at 11 and a half or 12. And there's somebody who is slapping each other or such videos are seen. What is your child learning? It's okay to hit, it's okay to shout, it's okay to judge, it's okay to bully, right? So that's something which you need to explain your child.
Yeah, you basically have to become a tiger mom, and you have to ensure that how we explain to our kids perhaps that there is an age for taking your own decisions, there is an age to vote, an age to start drinking, an age to start partying. Maybe there should be a very clear age to get tech involved as well. And even after that, there should be a controlled manner in which you sort of do this.
Absolutely.
But like you said, the heart of this entire issue is how much of this behavior can we as adults also inculcate.
Yes.
We do very often programs here and segments here on the Breakfast Club where we talk about how sleep disorder is increasing because people, the last thing they see before they sleep is actually their phones. When they eat, they're not listening to their body and their gut, but they're listening to somebody on TV, and that's why they don't know when to stop. So if we as adults don't sort of fix this problem, we'll never be able to pave the way for the younger ones as well. And also, I think the takeaway there, last comments from you, Riddhi, on what can be done by these social media platforms as well. We now know that Florida is sort of set the tone over here. Again, their law is also pretty much saying that you can't do it, you can't have a account. But like I said, nobody is stopping kids from, accessing social media if you don't have an account. But what then is a good approach for policymakers watching right now, for social media sort of companies watching right now? What should they be doing to have a very clear kid lens?
So in our country, there's something called Aadhaar card. Okay, it's very important that whenever you open a social media account, you need to give a proof of your Aadhaar card. It is important, so make it mandatory, right? Also, like YouTube has YouTube Kids. So unless you go, if you're logging through Gmail, it's not going to allow you to access the YouTube, the normal YouTube. It's obviously going to take you to the YouTube Kids. Similarly, for all the social media handles, the algorithms needs to be set in a way that kids cannot access at all, because that is pretty dangerous.
Dangerous indeed,
Yes.
but like I said, let's not paint a doomsday picture over here. The point is very simple. Like I said, there has to be an age for everything that you do in life, and perhaps one where you should access social media as well. It brings it, and internet with itself brings in a lot of good, but we got to know how to navigate the bad as well. And as long as we're doing that, we're going to be in an okay space. Thanks so much, Riddhi, for joining us.
Thank